What constitutes a good life? In the book Secret by Rhonda Byrne, she goes to the extent of saying that the universe reorganizes itself in order to cater to every individual human's most dominant thoughts. So one can go ahead and shape their good life, almost as if ordering from a menu card. Now, couple this with string theory, which talks about parallel universes existing based on the decisions we make at important times in our life. Then maybe it is possible to fathom customizable versions of good life for everyone. But let's dial back a little bit and explore what it means to be living a good life. What constitutes a good life? Is there a single best or right way to approach building our own version of the good life? Based on our research of about 6 popular books on philosophy and spirituality, the essence of a good life can be split into 3 main perspectives. 1. A good life aligned with reason. 2. A good life dedicated to something larger than yourself. 3. There is no such thing as a good life. Let's explore these in a bit more detail. Welcome to Life Unblocked, a channel where we inspire you one video at a time. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, and we promise to share interesting topics every week. Perspective 1. A good life aligned with reason. Living rationally is the essence of this principle. Basically, you consider the options available, weigh the possible outcomes, and choose the best option, rather than making moral decisions based on your whims, impulses, and intuitions. What is interesting here is that 2 of the greatest philosophers of all time have opposing views about living a good rational life. Let's look first about what Aristotle has to say. Aristotle encourages you to have a rational life based on emotion, but only after you have trained your emotion to align with reason. Aristotle's justification is simple. All good people are attracted by good and repelled by evil, so they can use their emotions to motivate them to live morally. For example, if you see a kid being mistreated by its parents, then you know rationally that it is immoral and get emotionally upset about it. So you step in as it is the moral thing to do. Your emotions are telling you that this mistreatment of the child has to stop. In other words, your reasons are telling you what to do, but your emotions are giving you the inspiration to do it. On the other hand, another philosopher, Marcus Aurelius, believes that a good life is lived strictly according to reason and nothing else. He believes that the universe itself acts by reason. There are rules and systems, and whatever is supposed to happen, happens. So by acting according to reason, you are being a good and responsible human and being in harmony with the universe. Aurelius believes that you should eliminate all negative emotions to be in full harmony with the universe. These emotions do not come from external events, but come from within you, which means that you are in complete control of the interpretation of these events. For example, if someone steps on your foot, you can choose to be negative about it and blame the person for hurting you, or you can think that it was an accident and forgive them. So you either become angry with them or choose not to be angry. The decision is based on how you react rather than what happened. Aurelius goes beyond establishing that negative emotion is a choice. He says that it is never the correct choice. There is no logical reason to experience negative emotion. Giving in to negative emotions such as anger, fear, or getting upset does not change the reality of what happened. Alright, let's move on to perspective number 2 of what a good life is. A good life is dedicated to something greater. This version cares less about your internal development, but more on your interactions with the external world. Here you can imagine the external world in 2 ways. One is the society that you're part of, which is a bit of a communist way of living. And 2 is the universe itself, which is more of a spiritual way of looking at life. Let's look at these a bit more. Dedicating yourself to society. Confucius says that to be a good person, you must contribute to the betterment of the society by respecting your superiors and fulfilling your obligations to the family and community. Though it can be seen from a communist perspective, this perspective also incorporates the way of life that most of us have been brought upon. Values such as respecting your elders, working hard, and honesty are common values that have been inculcated into us from a very young age. Dedicating yourself to the universe. Spiritualist Alan Watts argues that the best way to live is by viewing yourself as one with the universe. This is somewhat similar to the Hindu preaching of Tattvam Asi, meaning that you are that, which signifies the relationship between the individual and the absolute. The now popular practices of mindfulness and gratitude are all a function of believing that there are things that happen to us as a result of multitude of events and efforts that happen, which are beyond our control. The Buddhist principles of harming no one and nothing and choosing the middle path are all part of considering yourself as part of an interconnected world. In other words, The whole is much greater than the sum of its parts. Now, let's look at the most controversial perspective of them all. The one that says that there might not be anything called a good life. We all love a good argument. So let's explore what this perspective says. Perspective number 3. There is no good life. Unlike the philosophers and spiritual gurus, some authors are of the opinion that you shouldn't worry about living a good life at all. They believe it just doesn't exist, or believe it is impossible to know what a good life is. They believe that the best way to live life is by rejecting the notion of polarizing all actions as good or bad. Let's look at the 2 books that speak about this. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, it is argued that there is no universal standard of a good life. Morality is relative. What might be good for one person might be evil for another. So instead of worrying about morality, one has to contribute towards the evolution of mankind. Adopting a version of Darwinism, it is suggested that if man chose to social conformity and mediocre mindsets, then evolution of mankind stagnates, and that will eventually put the whole species at risk. If we don't push boundaries, we will not evolve, and we will not adapt to change, and we will not be able to face challenges in the future. So the best person here is actually the one who is unique, individualistic, and naturally skilled. Their single-minded devotion to themselves helped them develop remarkable intellect, strength, and talent for passions, which they will then pass on to the next generation of humanity. Let us look at what another book says about the perspective of there is no such thing as a good life. In the myth of Sisyphus, Camus believes that it is pointless to debate whether a good life exists or not. He says that it is impossible to understand the purpose or meaning of the human life. This is because the answer to the question lies beyond the scope of human experience. For example, if God exists and provides humans with a purposeful life, then we still wouldn't know our lives have purpose, because we still cannot concretely know if God existed or not. Since we don't know the purpose of human life, we have no frame of reference as to whether that life is good or bad. The absurdity is what Camus refers to as the absurd. No debating that name. And Camus believes the best way to live life is by being aware of and accepting the absurd. This means recognizing that your life can be pointless, but choosing to live on regardless and finding pleasure in the process by living in the moment and enjoying our experiences. I don't know about you, but I resonate with Camus. Hit like if you enjoyed the video. Share with us your thoughts on what a good life means to you. Subscribe to Life Unblocked for more such eye-opening content.